This is November 2017, paper 3 at Excel higher. In order to do that, that means we need to find where is the median, which of the class interval here is where the median is. In order to do that, we need to work out the cumulative frequency. So cumulative frequency is basically adding up all the frequency as we go down this table. And so we do 8 plus, so we start with 4, so that's 0 plus 4. And the next one is we add 11, so that will become 15. And then plus 24, that will become 39. And then plus 22, that will become 61. Plus 19, that will become 80. If you notice, the total here, 80, is equal to the total number of the frequency. So that shows it's correct. To find the median is what we call Q2. In Q2, because we're using class interval, a class interval has a lower class boundary, and a upper class boundary. So that's why it's called class interval. So it has a range. In this class interval, because we have a class interval, we have to use n plus 1 over 2. And this one, n plus 1 over 2, gives us the position of the median in this case. So n is 80, total number of frequency. So 80 plus 1 over 2, that will become 81 over 2, and that equals 40.5. So that's the position, not the actual answer. It's not the answer. It's 40.5 is the position. So which one has 40.5 from the cumulative frequency? Where is 40.5? So that's 0 to 4, and then 0 to 15 down here, and 0 to 39 here. So that's 0 to 39. That's 0 to 15. And that's 0 to 4. So where is position number 40.5? Position number 40.5, it's in here. That's the class interval where it belongs. This is the class interval. And hence, we write 160 is less than height, less or equal to 170. That's how you find your class interval that contain the median. Right, question 1b says draw a frequency polygon for the information in the table. Frequency height is what we got, and to find the height, we need to work out the midpoint. The midpoint is because we have a class interval, so the midpoint, let's call that h. And so the midpoint is 130 plus 140 divided by 2, that'd be 135. 140 plus 150 divided by 2, that would be 145. 150 plus 160 divided by 2, that would be 155. 160 plus 170 divided by 2, that would be 165. 170, 180 divided by 2, that would be 175. So now we got the h. We need to plot that against the frequency f. So let's plot it against the frequency. So the first one is 4. So we're looking for 4 and 135. So 135 here, and that's 4. So this is 4 on 135. Second point is 11 and 145. So we go 145 and 11. So this is here. The next one is 24 and 155. So we come here 155 and 24. So 24 is up here. Next one is 22, 165. So 165, is here and 22 is there. Next one is 19 and 175. So 175 and 19 is here. Now we need to join these to the axis. So join a straight line, hence it's called polygon, because polygons are just straight lines joined together. So and to join it together, remember it's a polygon, it's a frequency polygon. So you join straight line together with your ruler. Use your lovely ruler. Just join them together. There you go. I'm trying. There we go. The last one is a bit funny. So I'll try again. Just try the next one again. So okay. Right. That's your frequency polygon. Question 2. In London, 1 litre of petrol costs 108.9 pence. In New York, 1 US gallon of petrol costs $2.83. 1 US gallon equals 3.78 liters. £1 in exchange rate is $1.64. In which city is petrol best value for money? Is it London or New York? Show your working. In this case, because we're comparing two countries or two cities' petrol prices, so we need to basically, I would draw a table. That's what I would do. You don't have to do it this way. You could do it any way you like. So I'll do that. So the first information I'm giving is about the petrol of 1 litre. 1 litre of petrol in the UK is 108.9 pence. So and then also I'm giving that £1, which is 100 pence, is equal to, in exchange rate, $1.46. So with this situation, you can either compare pounds to dollars or dollars to pounds. I've decided to convert pounds to dollars, but you could do it the other way around. So now what I need to do is I need to find 1 pence. If I divide both sides by 100 to get 1, so I need to divide both sides by 100. So that means 100 divided by 100 is 1p. That's how I get my 1p. That means I need to divide 1.46 by 100. So I get 1.46 divided by 100. So that's in dollars. Now, and I need to multiply 1p by 108.9 so I can know the price of 108 in dollars. So 1 times 108 is 108.9. So 108.9 pence would be, well, I need to times the right hand side by 108 as well. So that would be 1.46 divided by 100 times 108.9. So that would be 0.0146 times 108.9. So the price of petrol in US dollars, UK petrol in US would be basically 1.58994 dollars. So that's how much it costs. Our petrol costs us here in dollars. £1.59. Right. Let's work out the price of petrol for 1 liter in US. Well, we know that 1 US gallon cost in dollars 2.83, and we know that one US gallon has 3.785 liters. Therefore, 3.785 liters will cost in dollars in US 2.83. So I need to divide both sides by 3.785 to get 1 liter of US. So 3.8785 divided by 3.785 is 1 liter. And that equals, I need to divide also the right hand side by 3.785. In dollars, it will be 2.83 divided by 3.785. And that will give me, in dollars, 0.74769. So 1 liter costs $0.74769. So which is cheaper? In UK, 1 liter equals 108.9, which equals $1.58994. And 1 liter in US is equal to 0.74769. So therefore, US or New York is better value. Question 3. A gold bar has a mass of 12.5 kilograms. The density of gold is 19.3 grams per centimeter cube. We need to work out the volume of the gold bar and give our answers into 3 significant figures. Now, the definition for density is rho. The symbol for density is rho, and that equals mass over volume. So now we need to find the volumes of volume. In order to find the volume, we need to make V the subject. In order to do that, I need to multiply both sides of this equation by V in order to get rid of the volume on the right hand side, because that volume is in the denominator. So rho V, that means rho times V, equals mass V over V. So I'll multiply both sides of the equation by volume. The volume on the right hand side will cancel each other, and therefore I'm left with rho V equals M. Now, to get rid of the rho on the left hand side so I can make V the subject, I need to divide both sides of the equation by rho. So I get rho V over rho equals M over rho. So rho is spelled RHO. So that's a symbol for volume. And so the rho on the left hand side will cancel each other. So I get the final equation as volume equals mass over density. So that's the definition of volume now. Now my mass is M, given is 12.5 kilogram, but my rho is 19.3 grams per centimeter cube. So what that meant is the gram in density is just grams, but the mass has kilograms. So that's slightly different. So I need to convert my mass into grams. So in order to do that, K stands for kilo, and that meant 1,000. So all I need to do is do 12.5 times K, which is 1,000 grams, and that will give us 12,500 grams. So now I can put that into the formula and use that to do my calculation. So my V equals M over rho, which is 12,500 divided by 19.3, and that will give us 64823 significant figures. So the answer will be 648 centimeter cube. Right, question 4. There are only blue pens, green pens, and red pens in a box. The ratio of the number of blue pens to the number of green pens is 2:5, and the ratio of the number of green pens to the number of red pens is 4:1. There are less than 100 pens in the box. What is the greatest possible number of red pens in the box? Well, the best thing to do is basically to write down the ratios you've got. So I've got the blue pen, and then I've got the green pen, and the ratios of those is 2:5. Then I also have green pen again to red pen, and the ratio is 4:1. Now, the best thing to do is to keep the green pen ratio the same. So the green to green should be the same. So I need to keep 5 and 4 the same. The only way I can make them a common factor between them, make them the same, is to multiply the 5 by 4 and the 4 by 5, which means I have to multiply everything on the left hand side by 4 and everything on the right hand side by 5. So if I do times 4, and I do here times 5, that will keep the green the same. So I'm going to get, for the red, I'm going to get 8 for the blue, and the green I'm going to get 20, and the green here will be 4 times 5, that will be 20 to 5. So now I have got the blue, green, and red. So the ratio of green to blue to green is 20, 8 to 20, and to red is 5. So that's the new ratio now. Next thing to do is basically look at what the question is saying. The question is saying there are less than 100 pens in the box. So we could take it to we could increase the total pen in the box by certain factor. We can multiply it by a factor, but it shouldn't be 100. So if we add up the total in the box, that will be 8 plus 20 plus 5, and that should give us 33. And what can we do to 33 to take it to a value, a multiple by a value, but not 100? Well, if we multiply by 3, that will be 99. That is still less than 100. So that's good. So if we multiply everything by 3, we'll get 99, which means we need to times each one of these by 3. So if we times 8 by 3, I get 24 to 20 times 3 is 60. 5 times 3 is 15. So that's my new total in the box now. In the box, this will be the new total ratio I've got. So if we add all this together, I'll get 99 total, which is less than 100. So my red is 15. The maximum red I can get is 15. So that's 15. Typical means. So we're told to find that value of reciprocal. And in order to do that, because you can use calculator in this question, so you just plug it in and do 1 divided by 1.6, and you will get 0.625. So that's the answer to that one. And now we have a error interval question as B part. Jess rounds a number x to 1 decimal place. The result is 9.8. Write down the error interval for x. Well, because the key word here is actually the 1 decimal place. A decimal is you got a value and then you do point another value. That's what you call decimal. So it's the value after the point. And the first value after the point is actually 1. So that 1 is what we called, so that would be 0.1. So that's the first decimal place you can get, 0.1. And because it's 0.1, what you now need to do is take that 0.1 and divide it by 2, so you're going to get 0.05. And so what you want to do is to find these values. This is your bound value. So you want to add 0.05 to 9.8. Also, take away 0.05 from 9.8. So 9.8 minus 0.05. So basically what we're saying is you do this. You do 9.8 and you draw 2 lines. And you do add 0.05 and take away 0.05. And here you're going to get 9.75, and here you're going to get 9.85. So those are your bound. This is the lower bound here, lower bound, and this is the upper bound. Upper bound. And you use that to write your error interval. So you always write the lower bound first. So when you're writing your error interval, you do your LB, lower bound, less and equal to x, less than the upper bound. So our answer will be, the answer to this question will be 9.75 less or equal to x, which is less than upper bound, which is 9.85. So that's how you work out your error interval. Using your bounds, you need to find the bound first. In this case, the clue is in the 1 decimal place, which is 0.1. Question 6. Here is a triangle. The length of the rectangle, here's a rectangle. The length of the rectangle is 7 centimeters longer than the width of the rectangle. 4 of these rectangles are used to make this 8-sided shape. The perimeter of the 8-sided shape is 70 centimeters. We need to work out the area of the 8-sided shape. Well, in this case, because we don't know the length of the width, so we can say let the width be x. So let the width be x. And so therefore the length will be x plus 7 because that's 7 centimeters longer than the width. So if this is x, and that'll be x plus 7. So that's the first thing we do. Then the next thing we do is to try and plug in those values that we know on the edge-sided shape. So this bit here is x. And I can see this is x plus 7. This bit is x. And this bit is x plus 7. And this bit is x, but therefore this bit is 7. Because the whole thing is x plus 7, but x, so x minus x, so 7, x minus x plus 7 is 7, so this bit is 7. This is x. This is x plus 7. Remember that it's x as well. That's why, because it's x plus 7, so that has to be 7. Right, so just don't forget that. That's x. This bit is x. Now, if this is x, that will be 7 here. So that's 7. So don't forget that. And this one is x plus 7. Right. The next thing we need to do is to write down the perimeter. And so the perimeter is the external length. The perimeter, the outside length of the block. So the ones I'm highlighting there is the length we're looking for the perimeter. So that's what perimeter is, the external length. So therefore we need to then write it down what the external length are. In this case, so we got, let me write it here, x, that one here, that's x here, that's that x, plus x plus 7, so that's x plus 7, another x, so that's plus x, plus 7, plus 7, x plus 7, plus x plus 7, plus x, plus x, plus x plus 7, plus x, plus x, plus 7, plus x plus 7, and all that will add up to 70 centimeters. That's what they're saying. That's what the perimeter is. So we need to count how many x's are here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I've got 8 x's plus how many 7s? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, 7. So 6 times, so 7 times 6, that will be 42. So that's 42, and that equals 70. So if I take away, and that implies that 8x, take away 42 from both sides, will be 70 minus 42, and that implies that 8x equals 70 minus 42 is 28. And therefore, x, I need to divide both sides by 8. X is 28 over 8, which equals 3.5. So that's 3.5 if you divide 28 by 8. Right. Now, what we need to do is find out the area, because the question is saying that work out the area of the 8-sided shape. The area of the 8-sided shape. We know to work out the area, we know that there are four 4 of the box rectangles were used to make the 8-sided shape. 4 of them. So we only need to know one area and multiply by 4. So the area in this case for 1 is, because x is 3.5, so I'm going to do 3.5 plus 7, and then I'm timesing it by 3.5 because x is 3.5. So area is x. Area is length times width. So the length is 10.5 and the width is 3.5. So that will give me 10.5 times 3.5 is 36.75 centimeters squared. And that's for the area of a single one. And area of 4, so that will be area times 4 will be the area of the 4 shapes. So that will be 36.75 times 4. And that will give us 147 centimeters squared. So the area is 147 centimeters squared. 147 centimeters squared. Now, question 7 is pretty straightforward. All you need to do is just type it into calculator. Make sure you use the brackets in case, so you don't make any mistake. So if you type that into your calculator, you're going to get, so you just get 7.452 times 10 to the power minus 4. So that's what you would get. It says, give your answer as an ordinary number. This is, this number is now not an ordinary number because this is scientific notation. So to write an ordinary number, you need to change your, so to ordinary numbers, so it'll be 0.0007452. So that's the answer as ordinary number. So you just write 0.0007452. Well, when a drawing pin, this is question number 8. When a drawing pin is dropped, it can land point down or point up. Lucy, Mel, and Tom each dropped the drawing pin a number of times. The table shows the number of times the drawing pin landed point down and the number of times the drawing pin landed point up for each person. Rachel is going to drop the drawing pin once, whose result will give the best estimate for the probability that the drawing pin will land point up. We need to give a reason for our answer. Well, in probability, if you carry out the highest number of try, the result tend to be more reliable. So in this case, Mel did the most try. If you add up all the tries she did, that's 80 trials. Lucy is done 45 trials, and Tom did 15 trials. And also if you add across, you get that that's 100 total there and 50 total there. Mel is closer to 100 than Lucy and Tom. Also, Mel is closest to 50 than Lucy and Tom. Therefore, Mel's try is more reliable because she did the most trial. So it's Mel because she did the most trial. Right, so question 8b. Stuart is going to drop the drawing pin twice. Use all the results in the table to work out the estimate for the probability that the drawing pin will land point up the first time and point down the second time. Well, we know that the total point down is 100 and the total point up is 50. Therefore, if we add them all together, it's going to be 150. So the probability for point down will be 100 over 150. That would be, well, how many 50 goes in 100? That's 2. How many 50 goes in 150? That's 3. So that's 2/3. And the probability of point up will be 50 over 150. Because that's that 50 here over 150. So that will be that. And that will be, how many 50 goes in 50? Once. How many 50 goes in 150? 3 times. So that will be the probability 1/3. So if you draw your tree diagram the first time, you can get point down and then or point up. So point down is basically 2/3 and 1/3. And then if you try again, according to this stuff, it says to get point up now. So point up will be 1/3. So that'll be 1/3. And then you might get point down. So that'll be point down. So that'll be 2/3. Or you get point up again. Point up, so that'll be 1/3. And point down, that'll be 2/3. So the probability of getting the first one, it says the result says that what's the probability that the drawing pin will land at point up first. So point up first, which is 1/3 times, and then point down second time. So it'll be 1/3 times 2/3. So that'll be point up first and point down second time. So that becomes 2/9. So that's the probability. So in here, we just write 2/9. Question 9. Jack bought a new boat for 12,500. The value of Jack's boat at the end of n years is given by the formula V equals 12,500 times 0.85 to the power of n. At the end of how many years was the value of Jack's boat first less than 50% of the value of the boats when it was new? Well, if you're doing logarithm, this would have been easy to solve using logarithm. So, but because we haven't done logarithm in GCSE higher, we need to use the indices here. So what it is to be 50%. Well, 50%. So 50% of 12,500 is 6,250. So to be less than that, so it will have to be that 0.85 to the power of n will be less than 0.5 because 50% is 0.5. 50 over 100 is 0.5. So it has to be, this part of the formula has to be less than 50% for it to apply to the question. In order to do that, we do a try and error. We try when 0.85 to power n equals 1. So obviously we get 0.85. That is greater than 0.5. So let's try the other one. What about when n equals to 85 to power 4? Well, if we try to power 4, we're going to get 0.522, and that's still greater than 0.5. Because it's 0. If we increase the power, the number will go down. So let's try 0.85 to power 5, and that gives us 0.4437. That's less than 0.5, and therefore it's in the 5th year. So year 5 years. After 5 years, it will be less than 50%. Question 9b. A saving account pays interest at a rate of R% per year. Jack invested 5,500 in the account for 1 year. At the end of the year, Jack pays tax on the interest at a rate of 40%. After paying tax, he gets 79.2 £79.2. We need to work out the value of R. So initially, the principal amount Jack invested was £5,500. Jack pays interest rate of 40%. And what Jack took with him was 60%. So that means the 60% of the money Jack took from interest, 60% of the interest is £79.2. So that was the 60%. If that was 60%, what is 1%? 1% is dividing both sides by 60, basically. If I divide this side by 60, I get 1%. I have to divide the right-hand side by 60 as well. So that will give me 79.2 over 60. Now I want to find 100% of the actual interest that Jack gets. So the 100% would be times both sides by 100. So I'm going to get 79.2 divided by 60 times 100. And that will give me, from the calculator, if you punch that into calculator, I get 132. So that's £132 was the interest, and of which he paid 40%, and then he kept 79.2. So if we add the 132 to the principal investment, so which is 5500 plus 132, we will get 5632. And so 5632 will be equal to, now if we apply the formula for interest rate, so the amount he's getting will be equal to principal times 1 plus interest over the number of years to the power of number of years. So in this case, the principal interest was 5,500 to bracket 1 plus R. The interest rate we're looking for is the R. Let me call that big R to be. So that's the interest rate we're looking for. And this is N equals 1 for 1 year. N equals 1. So in this case, I would divide both sides by 5500. So I get 5632 over 5500 will be equal to 1 plus big R to power 1. But power 1 is still 1 plus R. And so that gives me, so what I get is 5632 32 divided by 5500, I get, so that gives me, let's just write it up, which implies that 1.024 equals 1 plus r, and therefore 1 plus 0.024, 1.024 minus 1 equals capital R, and that gives me 0.024. If I times it by 100 to get the percentage, so that will be 0.024 times 100 in terms of percent. That will give me 2.4%. So the answer is 2.4%. Question 10. There are only blue counter, yellow counters, and green counters and red counters in a bag. A counter is taken at random from the bag. The table shows the probability of getting blue counters or yellow counters or a green counter. We need to work out the probability of getting a red. Well, with probability, they always add up to 1. So if we add, so to find the red is going to be 1 minus 0.2 minus 0.35 minus 0.4, and that should give us, and that will be equal to 0.05. So the red would be 0.05. That's 0.05. Right, 10b. What is the least possible number of counters in the bag? Well, in the bag of counters, there need to be, so there needs to be a whole number of counters. So in this case, otherwise, that's how we can count those things, because that have to be a whole number. In order to do that, we need to look at the numbers of probability and divide everything by the smallest, basically. So for red is the smallest. So red is the smallest, so we do 0.05 divided by 0.05, we get 1. And then for green, we do 0.04 divided by 0.05, we get 8. That's what we get for the green. For yellow, we get 0.35 divided by 0.05, we get 7. And for blue, we get, so for blue, we get 0.2 divided by 0.05, we get 4. And if we add all together, which is 1 plus 8 plus 7 plus 4, we get 20. So the least number of counters in the bag is 20. So the least number of counters in the bag is 20. Question 11. The cumulative frequency graph shows information about the weights of 60 potatoes. On the y-axis is the cumulative frequency, on the x-axis is the weight. And the question says, use the graph to find an estimate for the median weight. The estimate, the median is what we call the Q2, and that is the 50%. So 50% of 60, because the total here I can see is 60 potatoes. 50% of 60 is 30. So if we draw our line to meet the S-curve from 30 and then trace it down to meet the weight on the x-axis, and that would be, so we work that out, so that's 50, 55, 56, 57. So that will be 57 grams. 11b. Jamal says 80 minus 40 equals 40. So the range of the weight is 4 grams, 40 grams. Is Jamal correct? You must give a reason for your answer. In this case, probably not, because the data would have been grouped. So not so, otherwise the data would have been grouped into class interval of, so the actual highest may not be 80 and the actual lowest may not be 40. So that the actual highest may not be 80 and the actual lowest may not be 40 grams. Right, question 11c. We need to show that less than 25% of potatoes have a weight greater than 65 grams. In this case, we need to show that less than 25% of the potatoes have a weight greater than 65 grams. So we need to go to the graph and draw on 65 grams here and draw to the S-curve. Right, so we got draw to the S-curve, and then from there, let me just draw it properly, it might be missing there. So 65 grams, draw to the S-curve, and then from there we then trace it to the cumulative frequency. So we can see that when we trace it to cumulative frequency, that is 49. So 49 is, and then the one greater than 65 grams are the ones on the right, which will be the one on top here. So from 60 to that 49 there, this if you count them, so that'll be 60 minus 49, that gives us 11. So 11 were have a potato weigh more than 65 grams. So what we need to do is go to 11 over 60 times 100, and we're going to get, so if we do that, we do 11 divided by 60, and then we times it by 100, so we're going to get 18.3%. So 18.3%, this is less than 25. So because we got 18.3%, so we did 11 over 60, we times it by 100, and that gives us 18.3%. And this is less than 25%. So this is less than 25%. Question 12. Alan has two spinners, spinner A and spinner B. Each spinner can land on only red or white. The probability that spinner A will land on red is 0.25, and the probability that spinner B will land on red is 0.6. The probability tree diagram shows this information. So from the information that we've got in the probability tree diagram, we go from red to red will be red to the, so probability of red and red twice is 0.25 times 0.6, and probability of white is 0.75, that one. So that's 0.25 to 0.6, and 0.75 times 0.4. And that will be 0.3, and this one is 0.15. So, as we can see, Alan spins spinner A once, and he spins spinner B once. He does these a number of times. The number of times both spinners land on red is 24 times. We need to work out an estimate for the number of times both spinners land on white. Right. So now we know that 24 times is when it spun. The total number of spinning, we don't know, but it landed on red 24 times. So, and the probability of that is 0.15. So 24 over the total number that it will spawn, let's call that x. X is the total number that it will spawn. We don't know how many. So we need to work out x. So that implies that if we rearrange this equation, multiply both sides by x, and then divide both sides by 0.15, we get x equals 24 divided by 0.15, and that will give us 160. So this will spawn 160 times, meaning that it will be the same time that it will spawn for red as well. So 160 times, and then we get we landed on red 24 times. Sorry. For white, it would have been spawned about the same time, 160, and it landed on a certain number. We don't know what that number is. So let's call that number y. For white now, we have, I know the total number of spinning or spawn is 160, and the probability for landing on white is 0.3, and that implies that y will be equal to, this time we need to multiply both sides of this equation by 160, and then y equals 0.3 times 160, and that gives us 48. So it landed on white 48 times. Question 13. X squared plus 6x minus 7. So what we need to do here is we need to write in the form of x plus a squared plus b. And the way to get this form is to use completing the square. So we're going to apply completing the square. So x squared plus 6x minus 7. Applying completing the square, the x squared will become x plus b is 6, so we need b over 2. So whenever we're doing completing the square, we need to divide b by 2, so that would be 3. We square it, and we take away the square of b over 2. That's 9. The square of b over 2 is 3 squared. Let me just write 3 squared. And then minus 7. We bring minus 7 down. So that will become x plus 3 squared minus 9 minus 7. X plus 3 squared minus 16. So that implies that a equals 3, b equals minus 16. So the answer is x plus 3 squared minus 16. Question 14. A cone A and cone B are mathematically similar. The ratio of the volume of cone A to the volume cone of B is 27:8. The surface area of cone A is 297 centimeters squared, and the surface area of cone B is 132 centimeters squared. But we need to show that the surface area of cone B is 132 centimeters squared. Talking about the cones and their volumes and surface area, well, the volume of a cone is actually 1/3 pi r squared h. That's the height of the cone. And the surface area of a cone is, well, the pi r times the slant. Slant is the side of it, plus the base, the bottom, which is a circle, which is pi r squared. So that's a cone. If you draw a cone, and it's got a circle at the bottom there. So this is your slant L, and the height is h. And so that's your r, the radius. So that's what the volume and surface area of a cone is, if you ever need that. But really here, you don't really need to use that. But you can use it to prove what we're doing. But you don't need to, since this question is only 3 marks. So you don't need to do that. But what we need to do is basically write the A and B, and the volume of A ratio is 27 ratio to 8. Volume is in cube because the unit of volume is centimeter cube. So that's a clue there. So how can we write this in cube to go from cube to just centimeters? So I want to go from centimeter cube to just centimeters. So that's what we're doing. So if you look at that, and that centimeter will just give us the length or the radius. So in this case, I want to go from, what can I do to 27 to go to centimeter? So what I can do is to write 3 to power of 3 will give me 27, and ratio 2 to power of 3. And if I cube root that, I'll get the length. So cube root that, and the answer will be 3 to 2. So that's where I've gone from centimeter cube to centimeters. So that's the best way to do that. So I'm using the unit to do that. Now I want to go from centimeters to squared. So I want to go to surface area, which is centimeters squared. So that's the area. Well, to go from centimeter to centimeter squared, I just squared both of these two numbers. So that'll be 3 squared to 2 squared. And that gives me 9 to 4. So that's the best way to do this question. Now, once you got that, now the next thing to do is to now work out the surface area of B. Knowing the surface area of A, well, the surface area of A, which is 9, that gives me the surface area of A, which has surface area ratio of A gives me 297. Now I need to find 1. So if I divide 9 by 9, that gives me 1. So therefore 1 will give me, I need to divide both sides by 9. So that's what I've done. That's how I got my 1. I divide both sides by 9. So 1 will give me 297 over 9. Now I need to take that. Again, so I'm going from cube, if you like, to single, and from single to squared. So now I need to go from 1 to 4. That means I'll do 1 times 4 on both sides. And that will give me 297 over 9 times 4. So 4 would then give me 132, which is now centimeter squared. This is centimeter squared, and this is centimeter squared for 1, and for 4 will give me 132 centimeters squared. So the answer would be 132 surface area of B. So SA of B will be 132 centimeters squared. So that's the solution. Question 15a. We need to show that the equation x cubed plus 7x minus 5 equal to 0. Basically, the actual function is y equals x cubed plus 7x minus 5. But when we solve for this, the point where the curve crosses the x-axis, so if I actually sketch this, this is a quick sketch. So if I do a sketch, quick sketch, so it's a cubic, so start from the third quadrant here, and it'll go more like that. That's what this curve should look like, roughly. Now, the point where it crosses the x-axis, so that's what I want to show you now. The point where it crosses the x-axis are this point here. That's where it crosses the x-axis. So those points are the solutions of this root. So that's what this question is saying. Those are the solutions of this root. In that case, that's when y equal to 0. So really, that's when y equal to 0. But at any other point, y is not equal to 0. It'll be equal to something else. So that's what we're dealing with here. So let's call this minus y and that's y, and that's x, and that's minus x. When it's crossing, before it crosses the x-axis on the right hand side here, this is negative point, so that's negative y. And up here, when it crosses the y-axis, this is positive y, positive y. So you can see there's a change in sign when it crosses, before it crosses and after it crosses it. So that's what this question is showing. So the key word here is the solution here. It's saying that, well, before it crosses, can you prove that it has actually crossed it between a certain value between x equal to 0 and x equals to 1. In order to do that, all we need to do is now say, well, let's find the value of y when x is 0. So we say x equal to 0, what is y? We know y will be equal to 0 cube plus 7 into bracket 0 minus 5. And in this case, y will become minus 5. So you can see it's a negative value here. And then we need to also do the same thing and find out the x when it's 1. So if it crosses between 0 and 1, the sign will change. So we do y equals 1 cube plus 7 into bracket 1 minus 5. So that should be 1 plus 7. 1 times 7 is 7. So 1 plus 7 is 8. So that will be 8 minus 5. And that should give us 3. So there's a sign change here from negative to positive. So it changes from negative to positive, from negative to positive. So it has crossed the x-axis between 0 and 1. So that's the proof here, that it has crossed the x-axis. So there's a change of sign between x equal to 0 and x equal to 1. Therefore, we need to now say that the solution is between x equal to 0 and x equal 1. Question 15b. We need to show that the equation x cubed plus 7x minus 5 equal to 0 can be rearranged to give x equals 5 over x squared plus 7. Well, in this case, what we need to do is basically rearrange it. So I'm going to do that. X cubed plus 7x minus 5 equal to 0. If I take minus 5 to both sides, to the other side, or multiply, add 5 to both sides basically. So that will become x cubed plus 7x equals 5. So what I've done is I've moved minus sign to the other side, and the sign will change. In this case, minus to positive, or that means you've added 5 to both sides. Now, x is a common factor on the left, so I take x out. I'm left with x squared plus 7, and that gives us 5. What I now need to do is divide both sides by x squared plus 7. So that will become x equals 5 over x squared plus 7. And that's our proof. Question 15c. Starting with x subscript 0 equals 1, use the iteration formula x subscript n plus 1 equals 5 over x subscript n squared plus 7. Okay, so what we're doing, that's what we just done. We just rearrange it. So now we're using it to estimate the solution. Again, the solution is the point where it crosses the x-axis, and that's when y equal to 0. So just to show you again from my sketch I did earlier. It's not perfect, it's just a quick sketch. It's a positive cube. Any odd number polynomial starts from the third quadrant, so it goes like that. All right, so our solutions were there when y is equal to 0. You can see y equal to 0. So that's what the solutions are. Now we need to try and estimate that solution by using this iteration method. So to do that, we need to write the iteration formula. X subscript n plus 1 equals 5 over x subscript n squared, superscript is the squared, plus 7. Just let me write the words, the keywords I've been saying just now. So subscript is the bottom bit here, and it's like submarine, and superscript is the top bit there, like a superior. So that's what we got here. So make sure you use those things, those scripts properly. So now what we need to do is, we've been told that x when n equals 0, that's what that means. When n equals 0, so that's why we're doing x 0 equals 1. So when n equals 0, so we're going to have x 1, which is n 0 plus 1, that's x1, equals 5 over x to 0 squared plus 7. Now that'll be 5 x to 0 is 1, so that is, because we've been given that x subscript 0 equals 1, so that'll be 1 squared plus 7, and that gives us 0. From the calculator, 625. Now we need to do the same thing for n equals 1, which means that you go x, 1 plus 1 is 2 in the subscript there. That'll be 5 over, now x1, we know what x1 is, we just work it out. So that's x1 here. We just worked x1 out. So that's x1. So we need to place it here. So x1 squared, because n is 1, plus 7, that will be equal to 5 over 0.625 squared plus 7, and that will be equal to, when we plug that into our calculator, you're going to get 0.6765327696. So we need to use all these digits that we've got on our calculator to make it as accurate as possible. So this is our x2 now. So that's x2, and this is the value of x2. So that's the answer. So we're going to use that answer. So that's n equals 2 now. And that will give us 2 plus 1, that's 3. So that will give us x3 equals 5 over x. N is 2, so we put 2 there, squared, plus 7, that will be equal to, well, 5 over the answer we got from the last one, or just write the value again, 0.676532796 squared plus 7, and that gives us 0.67044830001. So we need to give the answer into 3 significant figures, so that will be 0.670. That's in 3 significant figures. And that's the answer. Now, question 15D. By substituting your answer in part C into the equation here, x cubed plus 7x minus 5, comment on the accuracy of your estimate for the solution to A. Okay, remember when we say solution, it means the value of x when it crosses the value of the curve when it crosses the x-axis. And at that point, y will be 0. And that's why we got 0 there, because y is 0. So when you sketch the curve again, just quick sketch, just to prove this point that we're talking about. So we know it starts from cubic. So it will be like that. And the point where it crosses the x-axis here, so if I use a red color, a point here, those are your solutions. And so there's one particular solution we're interested in. And so that's when y is 0, because that line is a line y equals 0. That's the line y equals 0. And the line of y-axis is the line x equal to 0. So that's your y-axis, y minus y. That's x, and that's minus x. So right. So that's what we're trying to do. The answer we got earlier was that x equals 0.670. So what we want to do is put that into our calculator. So we want to use all the answers we got in the digits that we've got. So let's use all that, 3001. So that's our x. When we feed that into the calculation, that means we substitute x into these values here. We should be able to get y close to 0. If it's not, then we're wrong. This is an estimate, so let's do that. So that would be, let's call that answer from the calculator, because remember, that's your answer from the calculator from the last exercise. So if you put answer cube plus 7 into bracket answer, and then we take away 5, I think we should get minus 5.49 times 10 to the power minus 3, which is minus 0.00549. So that is close, very close to 0. So it's a good estimate. So this is very close to 0. So that's so therefore it is an accurate estimate. Right? Estimate. Question 16. The petrol consumption of a car in liters per 100 kilometers is given by the formula petrol consumption equals 100 times the number of liters of petrol used divided by the number of petrol kilometers traveled. Nathan's car traveled 148 kilometers, correct to 3 significant figures, and the car used 11.8 liters of petrol, correct to 3 significant figures. Nathan says, my car used less than 8 liters of petrol per 100 kilometers. Could Nathan be wrong? We must show how we get our answer. Right. In this case, this is what we call a bound question. Because from this formula, there's a relationship here. To get the higher, to increase the petrol consumption, the number of liters of petrol use must go up because they are both directly proportional. And the number of kilometers traveled must go down because the petrol consumption is inversely proportional to the kilometers traveled. So we need to get the upper bound for the number of liters used and the lower bound for the number of kilometers traveled. The upper bound for the number of liters used is it says the car used 11.8, so it will be, the upper bound will be 11.85 because that can round up to 8. So we call that the upper bound. And the lower bound for the car traveled is 147.5 because that can round up to 148. So that will be lower bound. So in this case, we need to plug these two values into the equation. And so in order to get the most petrol consumption. So the petrol consumption will be equal to 100 times 11.85 divided by 14.7.5. And so that's what we need to do in order to get the answer for this one. And that will give us, if we do that, that will give us 8.03 correct to 3 significant figures. And so in this case, Nathan could be wrong. Question 17. ABC and ADC are triangles. The area of ADC is 56 meters squared. Work out the length of AB. Give your answers correct to 1 decimal place. Right, so in this case, the best is to draw out the triangle ADC because we've been given the area of triangle ADC. So we're going to use that. So I'll just draw it out just so it's easy to work out. I'll call that capital D, obviously that's capital A, capital C. And that means this side is small a, this is little c, and this is little d. And little c is 11 meters. The angle here is 105 degrees, so that's the D. Now the area of A, so area of ADC is 56, and that equals a half A times C, right, sine D. So that's the formula to use. In this case, the best before I plug in any value is just multiply both sides by 2. So I'm going to get 112 equals AC sine D. Now I need to find A because that's what I'm looking for. I know my C, I need to find A. So that implies that I need to divide both sides by C sine D. So I'm going to get 112 divided by C sine D. So that will give me A. So now let's plug those values in to find A. 112 divided by C is 11 sine 105. So that's what we need to do. And when we work that out, we're going to get 10.540993, I think, 84. So that's what we get in that case. So next thing we need to do, that's meters, by the way. Next thing we need to do is to work out what D will be. So A is 10.5. That's roughly 10.5. So now we need to work out what D will be, because that D is AC. We need AC. So if we work out what D is, then we can find AB. So to find D, we use a cosine rule. So we use cosine. So to use cosine rule, what we need to do now is D squared, that's what we're looking for, is equal to A squared plus C squared minus 2AC cos D. So that's what we need to use to find D. So because the angle is opposite D as well, so that's the secret to that one. But we know what A is. A is 11 squared. So A is 11, so that would be 11 squared plus C. C is the answer we got from our last calculation, which is 10.54099384. So if you still have that, you can put your answer in your calculator and you square that. And then you go minus, right? 2 times 11 times the answer again. So you have to use your calculator carefully. And then you do cos times cos 105 degrees. So from there, if you do that properly, you get your D squared will be equal to 292.133, I think, 1702. And then you square root both sides. If you square root both sides, which implies that D would be square root of 292.1331702. And so here in this case, we'll get our D to be, so the D will be equal to what? That will be equal to 17.09190.364 meters. Now we know what D is. So that's 17.09. So this one is 17.09. And this is roughly 10.5. Now we can draw out A, B, C. A, B, C triangle. So let's draw that out. So we draw A as A, B, C triangle, where D, we know what D is now, so that's D here. So let's just write it down clearly. So that's a new B now. Your D is now B, which is 17.09. The angle for angle C is 48 degrees. So that's 48 degrees. And angle B is 118 degrees. That's 118 degrees. We need to find AB, so that's little c, the new one, a new little c, that's small a, and that's small b. So using this our triangle, new triangle ABC, we can find the C now, the little c, which is AB. So a new C using the sine rule now. So we're going to use sine rule. So C, because we're looking for the side, you always put the side on top if you're looking for side. If you're looking for angle, you put the angle on top. So that will be C over sine big C, which is 48, equals, now we know the angle and the side of B, so we should use B then. So little b over sine 118 degrees. So now we know what B is. So B is the answer we got from last working. So what we need to do is use that answer. So we got our C will be equal to B sine C, capital C, B sine capital C over sine B. Let's plug the values in. So that will be, we know what B is, 17 point, or the answer, 09, put all the digits in, you times it by sine 48, and you divide a lot by sine 118 degrees, and you should get, if it's done properly, so you get 14.4. That's to 1 decimal place. That's the answer. Question 18. Here is a speed time graph for a train. And it says, question A, work out an estimate for the distance the train traveled in the first 20 seconds. Use 4 strips of equal width. Well, in this case, this question is giving us a specific instruction to work out the estimated distance. In a speed-time graph, the area under the curve is the distance. So the area under the curve is the distance. That's in a speed or velocity time graph, the area under the curve. And the area we've been told is between 0 and 20 seconds. We've been given specific instructions, 0 and 20 seconds, and we're meant to use 4 strips of equal width. So that's important that we do that. So let's use a different color to do that. So if we start from 0 and then we go all the way to 20, so we draw a line. There you go, that's a strip they want us to do. There we go. And the second one, so the second one would be, we do that one there, divide in equal strips. There you go. And the next one from 10 up there. So basically we divide into 4 strips. All right. So now that we've done that, what we now need to do is to draw the triangle there. So that's a triangle. So that's giving us a triangle. That's a trapezium. That's not a triangle, it's a trapezium. And from there onwards to there is another trapezium. And from there onward is another trapezium. So we got 1 triangle and 3 trapezium. So the height of these trapeziums, so this one is, let's use a different color to just show the different height. So the height of this triangle is 5. This is 5 as well, 5, 5. And this one here is 2. How do I get that? Well, this is 2. How did I get that? Well, from here to there is 5. Basically, it's 5, right? And there are 10 squares, little squares. So each little squares, how do we get that? It's going to be 5 divided by 10, and that gives us 0.5. So each little square is 0.5. And therefore, so we can count 4 little squares, that's 2. 2 little squares is 1, another 2 is 1, so 2 plus 1 plus 1 is 2. And this one is 5, and that height here is 10, and this is 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, so now what we need to do is work out the area of each of these squares and triangles and trapezium. So for the first one, number 1, and that's number 2, that's number 3, and number 4. So the first one, 1, 2, 3, 4, that would be a half base, so that's 2 times the height, 5. So that gives us 5. So that's 5. So don't forget to add that to next one, which is for area of a trapezium. When you're finding the area of a trapezium, it's usually, so we find the top, the bottom, there we go. So the height is 5 here, and that's A plus B. So area of a trapezium is a half A plus B times height, and the height is 5, so they're all 5 for this one here. So what we need to do is work out, so that would be a half 2 plus 5 times 5, and that gives us 17.5. So that gives us 17.5. And the next one is a half 5 plus 10 times 5. So that gives us 37.5. And the next one is a half 10 plus 18 times 5. That gives us 70. And if we add them together, we get 130. So that's 130. The B part says, is your answer to A an underestimate or an overestimate to the actual distance the train traveled? Give a reason to your answer. Well, there is some space added when we were joining two lines together to form the trapezium. This space is outside the curve, so we've added a tiny bit of space that were included in the calculations. So in this case, the answer is overestimate. So it's an overestimate because, let me just write that clearly because it's not spelled properly. It's overestimate because some small space were added to the trapezium when drawing it. Question 19. Prove algebraically that the straight line with equation x minus 2y equals 10 is a tangent to the circle with equation x squared plus y squared equals 20. This question is 5 marks, so it requires a bit of work. Well, first of all, the best way to do this is actually to try and draw a tiny circle, and let's assume, and then we draw a tangent to this circle. So if we draw a tangent to this circle, it will be like that. That's a tangent. and it will only have one value where it intercepts a value of intersection between the circle and the line. So this value is your x and y. So that's what we're trying to prove, that there's only one value that crosses that intercept the circle. This is y, and that's x minus y minus x. So in order to do that, we just need to rearrange the linear equation, which is x minus 2y equals 10, and make x the subject, which implies that x equals 10 plus 2y. So what we need to do is substitute that into the circle equation, because we're solving a simultaneous equation now between linear and quadratic, if you like. So replacing x with 10 plus 2y. So that will be from the circle equation, which is x squared plus y squared equals 20. So if I replace the x with 10 plus 2y squared plus y squared equals 20. Now expand this. Okay, quick way to expand this is probably to just draw the 10 plus 2y, 10 plus 2y, and then plus y squared equals 20. 10 times 10, that's 10 times 10, that'll be 100. And then 10 times 2y, that'll be plus 20y. 2y times 10, that'll be plus 20y. And 2y times 2y, that will be plus 4y squared plus y squared equals 20. So let me simplify. So I have got, take the 20 to this side. So I would have got 5y squared. So that's 4y and 2y add up to 5y. Plus, well, I've got 20y and 20y, that's 40y. Plus, well, I've got 100 minus 20 equal to 0. So I minus 20 from both sides. So I get 5y squared plus 40y plus 80 equal to 0. In this case, I need to divide both sides by 5. So 5 by 5 is, I get y squared plus 8y plus 16 equal to 0. Now I need to factorize these two. So to factorize this, I need AC here. My A is 1, so A equals 1, B equals 8, and C equals 16. So AC is 16. 1 times 16, and that equals 16. So 16, two numbers I can multiply together to get 16, and when I add them together, I get 8. So that will be 4 and 4. All I need to do is put y there, and plus, and I need to replace my b. B is 8y. I need to replace with 4y plus 4y. So when I rewrite that, so let me just come to this side, so just draw that little line there. So I'm going to have y squared plus, so I'm going to rewrite 8y with 4y plus 4y plus 16 equal to 0. So I'm factorizing now. And what's common between these two here is y. So I'll write y out. So I get y plus 4. And what's common between these two here is 4. So I'll put the plus there. 4 comes down. I'll take the 4 out, which is common. So I get y plus 4. Because this and that are the same, that means I'm doing it right. equal to 0. And the common factor here again is 4y plus 4. So I take it out. Y plus 4 is common. And what's left is y and plus 4. So I'll just write y plus 4. And that'll be equal to 0. So now what that meant is my solutions, I'll set that to 0. And I'll set that to 0. That's how you solve this. So y equals, or y plus 4 equal to 0. And therefore y equals minus 4. Take away 4 from both sides. Again, y plus 4 equal to 0. And y equals minus 4. So there's only one value of y, which is minus 4. So I need to find x now. I know the x from the equation we've written before. X equals 10 plus 2y. X equals 10 plus 2y. So replace y by 4. So x becomes 10 plus 2 into bracket minus 4. X becomes 10 plus 2 times minus 4, which is 10 minus 8, and x becomes 2. So the point where x and y crosses, I haven't drawn the curve properly, so if I redraw this one, it's not there, so that's not where the point is, where they cross. That's a rough guess I was doing there. So it's somewhere here where x is 2 and y is minus 4. So what I meant is at this point, x is 2 and y is minus 4. So that's 2, sorry, x is 2. Let me just write that down carefully. So that's 2 there. That's x, so that point is 2 minus 4. So that's the only point where they intercept. So hence, that proves that there's only one, this equation is a tangent. So that proves that the line, that proves that the line x minus 2y equals 10 is a tangent to the circle equation of x squared plus y squared equals 10. Equals 20, sorry. Question 20. A, B, and C are points on the circumference of a circle with center O. AOB is the diameter of the circle. Prove that angle ACB is 90 degrees. You must not use any circle theorems in this proof. Right, okay, so the best thing to do is, we know from this drawing that the radius AO and is equal to BO. So they're both radiuses, so they're equal, so that's equal to that one. If we draw a circle from there, a line from C to O, so we just draw a line from C to O. Right. What that meant is this side is also equal to that side. So that, and that is also equal to those sides. So those sides are equal. So if that is equal to that. So just use another color for this one. And that bit is equal to that bit. So what that meant is this angle here, let's call that X. So that will be equal to that angle here, X. So this angle here is Y. That will be equal to that angle Y. And the total angle here will be this angle here, let's call that beta, here alpha. So just to make things easy, so the alpha here is going to be 180 minus 2x, because the total angle in a triangle is 180 degrees. And the beta, so let's just use the last one here, changing colors. So beta will be 180 minus 2y. So now we know what we're dealing with, but the total angle in a straight line, so we know angle in a straight line, in a straight line is equal to 180 degrees. And this triangle BOC is isosceles triangle. Likewise, triangle AOC is also isosceles. Now, in this case, what we now need to do is to do some substitution, and we should be able to get there. We're trying to prove that angle ACB equals 90 degrees. Well, the only way to do that is to find x and y, because x and y should be equal to the ACB. So let's do that. We know the total angle in a straight line equals 180 degrees, so that alpha plus beta should be equal to 180 degrees, right? Okay. Now, but we know what alpha is. Alpha is 180 minus 2x. So let's just write it out. 180 minus 2x plus beta is 180 minus 2y, and all should add up to 180 degrees. So if we rearrange this, so we're going to get 180 plus 180 minus 2x minus 2y equals 180 degrees. 180 plus 180 is 360 degrees. And if I take the 180 from the right hand side to the left, that will become plus 180. So I add 180 to both sides. And I also add minus 2x and minus 2y to both, or add 2x and 2y to both sides. So I'm going to get 2x plus 2y. So this is, let me just correct my mistake here. So that would be minus 180. So I take away 180 from both sides in this case, and then I add 2x and 2y to both sides. So I get 180 equals 2x plus 2y. Now what's common here in 2x plus 2y is 2. So I take 2 out, so I get x plus y, and I get 180 degrees. By the way, they're all degrees. So if I divide both sides by 2, I get 180 over 2 degrees equals x plus y. So therefore, x plus y equals 90 degrees. And that's my proof, that x plus y equals 90 degrees. Question 21. OAN, OMB, and APB are straight lines. AN equals 2OA. M is the midpoint of OB. OA is A, so this is A here. And OB is B. And M is the midpoint, so that will be B over 2, and this is B over 2. AP equals KAB, where K is a scalar quantity. Given that MPN is a straight line, find the value of K. Right, few things to be done here. Since we know what OB and OA is, we could basically find AB first. So AB vector we start at A and we finish at B. So we're starting at A, finishing at B. That's the quickest path. That's a quick path. What's the other route to get to B from A? So the other route would be to go AO plus OB. So that's what we need to do. We look for the other route. So that would be AO plus OB. Now, what is OA? OA is A, but we want AO, which is minus A plus B. And therefore, let's write it this way, B minus A. That's AB. Okay. But KAP is KAB, and AB is B minus A, so don't forget that. Now, the next thing we need to do, let's just get rid of those ones. And the next thing we need to do is go from M to N. So let's just do that properly. M to N. Right, going through P. Now, MP or MN might be the best thing to do first. MN is, so you start at M and finish at N. What's the other route we can go? Well, we can go MO plus ON. But MO is minus B over 2, so minus B over 2. Let's just get that right. Plus ON is 3A. So MN will be 3A minus B over 2. That's another way to write it. But PM, so PN is another thing we need. We need PN. So if I write PN, so PN will be equal to, we'll start at P, finishes at N. What is the other route we can take to get to N from P? So we can go via PA plus AN. But PA is minus AP. So that'd be minus K into bracket B minus A plus AN. AN is 2A. So if I really expand the bracket, minus KB plus KA plus 2A. And that will give us minus KB plus, if I take A out, K plus 2 into bracket A. This is a multiple, MN is a multiple of PN, right? Because we were told that anyway. So MN is a multiple of PN. What do I mean by that is, if you have a vector which is going in that one direction, and that's X, and they have the same vector going in the same direction, and we can call that KX. So that vector KX is a multiple of X. Same thing with MN and PN. So PN, we can write PN to look like MN and to show the multipleness. So if I write MN is a multiple of, let's call that multiple factor as X, X PN. So that's what MN is. But my MN, so let's put it here underneath here. So MN is minus B over 2 plus 3A. And that equals the PN, XPN. X is a multiple constant, so in this case, so I'm going to write x, and my Pn is minus kb plus k plus 2a. So if I basically expand that, so let me just continue from this side, so to keep it simple. So I can write it properly like minus a half b plus 3 will be equal to minus kxb plus, let me just write it in a way that it makes sense. So I'll be start from here. Minus a half b plus 3a equals minus kxb plus k plus 2xa. So that looks similar to what we have here, in the sense that I've got two equations. A half is equal to kx. Those are the coefficients of b. So I'm equating the coefficient of b. The minus cancels out. So it's actually minus a half equals minus kx, where the minus cancels out. And I'm looking at coefficient of a. So that'll be 3. So that's a. And a there will be equal to kx, oops, so not kx, k plus 2 bracket x. So that's the coefficient of a. So the coefficient of b, I've just done there, and the coefficient of a, I just equate them together. So that means the number in front of b and the number in front of a. So the minus cancels each other out, so I can get the kx. So kx equals a half, and this side I get 3 equals kx plus 2x. So now I can replace kx with a half to find x, and then I can find k. So 3 equals a half plus 2x. Multiply both sides by 2. So I get 6 equals 1 plus 4x. And x equals, so 6 minus 1, so that's 5. And that's 4x. So x equals 5 over 4. If x is 5 over 4, I can find k. X is 5 over 4, I can find k. So k 5 over 4 equals a half. Multiply both sides by 4. 5k, or k5 equals 4 over 2. And therefore, k or 5k equals 2. K equals 2 over 5. So that's the value of k. So k equals 2 over 5.